Hi, my name is Thomas Johnson, and I'm the founder and CEO of GetUpNGetFit Wellness Coaching Concierge. I'm also a C-suite advisor and investor. And you're listening to How May I Serve You, where I'm constantly on the quest to surround myself with the best coaches while learning how to better serve our executive clientele by asking them, How may I serve you? Today's show is sponsored by GetUpNGetFit. And GetUpNGetFit will be providing students with textbooks and school supplies in Cambodia in honor of our guest today, as well as our philanthropic mission to impact at least 50,000 people per year. And today's guest is Thane Marcus. Thane, how you doing, buddy? What's going on?
I'm doing good, Thomas. Thanks for having me on. It's good to see you. It's good to have the energy coming from you, and excited to have this conversation today.
There you go. So it's Thane, or it's not Tan, but Thane with the
Thane,
TH.
yeah.
All right, Thane Marcus. Make sure I get his pronunciation right.
It's a
so
tough one.
So Thane Ringler is a former professional golfer now dedicated to unlocking the potential in others. As a development coach and leadership guide, he works with individuals, teams, and organizations on improving performance and becoming leaders worth following. To find more about Ten and his work, you go to tenmarcus.com. So Ten, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate the intro. It's good to be here. I love the title of your show because really I think that's the heart that we all need to operate out of is serving others. And we each have something to bring to that. So I'm excited to talk with you about that today.
Yes, indeed. So Thane, your story is a very special one and also interesting one because you come from a professional athlete background. You know, you were a professional golfer prior to becoming a coach. But let's dive a little further back, right? So tell us a little bit more about yourself, your childhood.
Yeah, totally. So I grew up in the heartland of America in Hutchinson, Kansas, small town USA, and a great place to grow up. A great foundation. I also grew up about a minute from one of the best golf courses in the country, Prairie
Okay.
Dunes Country Club. So that was a privilege to be able to play and grow up out there. And then I ended up going to college out in California in Los Angeles area. It's called the Masters University, a smaller Christian school out there. Competed for 4 years as a golfer with them, and then competed about 4 years professionally after that. So childhood was great. First 17, 18 years was in Kansas, and then I went out to LA, and I spent about 10 years out in LA before moving to Denver, Colorado, right when COVID popped and right when I got married. So it's been a pretty crazy venture the whole way, and I'm grateful for each season so far.
That's awesome, man. So from Kansas to
Mhm.
LA, that's a big jump, man. That's a big cultural shift.
It is, it was I was on one end of the spectrum and I went to the complete opposite. So, but
Yeah,
it's so cool, we really only know as much as our experience has given us. And so, one of the best ways to learn and expand and grow as a human is just have more experiences, have different experiences, be around different people or cultures or places. And so, to have that opportunity to go out and be and live in a place like LA, where it's one of the most probably the biggest cultural melting pot in the world, or one of them, right? And every type of person and from every type of place is there.
yes,
And
indeed.
you get to be surrounded by so many different ideas and types of people that you almost have to expand and grow as a person, just because you realize that you're just one small cog in this couple billion or trillion people on the planet, right? So it was a really awesome experience, and it's not for everyone. I think that both extremes cater to different types of people, and they're both good in their own way, and they both can be imbalanced and unhelpful in their own way. So it's really about understanding yourself, understanding your own blind spots, and trying to grow and learn in empathy as we encounter other people that have had way different experiences than we have.
You know what? I love what you just said. Learn to grow in empathy. So your
Mhm.
experience from living in Kansas to go into LA and really experiencing the culture has really nurtured you into the man you are right now. Correct?
100%.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm extremely curious, man, because you were a professional golfer prior to becoming a coach. Do you mind sharing some light into a little bit more about in terms of what really transpired? You know, why you stopped golfing and why you became a coach?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that is important to note is that while golf is a really fun game to play, it's also a really hard job to maintain. So there's a lot of great golfers out there, and I was one of them. And I was on the path of becoming successful in it. It is not as nearly as glamorous as people assume, right? I think we all get a very fairy tale perspective on high performers or top level athletes or even top level business CEOs and executives, right? We see the highlight reel similar to like Instagram, but we don't see the reality of day to day. And for most of the guys that are playing professional golf, it's a pretty brutal grind, myself included. So on average, it takes guys 7 to 10 years of grinding and working up through the system to get their PGA Tour card.
Wow.
It's not glamorous. You're staying in a lot of friends' houses, cheap Airbnbs, wherever you can to save money while you try to compete and cut your teeth on lower level tours where you're paying a lot of money for entry fee with not a lot in return, especially if you miss the cut, you're getting nothing. So really high pressure, really expensive, and really draining and life sucking a lot of it, because at the end of the day, it's a battle against yourself. Golf relies, once you get to a high enough level, it's 95 to 99% right here in your head. And so how can you, despite the pressure of all the money that's on the line, despite all the circumstances surrounding you, all the distractions leading up to it, even your own expectations or others' expectations on you, how can you remove all that and optimize your performance regardless of what's going on outside of this moment and this shot? So
Interesting.
it's a deep dive in self-awareness, in self-optimization, and even in discipline, both of your mind and of your body, to unlock your highest performance. My own journey in that, to speak a little bit to that, I started out really the first year and a half, I was mentally weak. That was my biggest struggle, right? I was in a new ocean, in a new experience, trying to learn my way around, get comfortable, get familiar, and then also overcome my own fears or doubts or even insecurities about my own abilities. So there was a learning curve there mentally, where I had to grow mentally tough. I had to become mentally disciplined. And then the second half of my career, once I got a lot of that work done, I ended up facing a body struggle. So I had a physical injury in my back, a muscle strain in my left rhomboid that repeated 5 times over a year and a half.
Oof.
So it was a really frustrating on-off cycle of learning what not to do in recovering from injuries, and then learning that I'm treating the symptom and not the root, and this on-off cycle that kept going for about a year and a half. So it was a pretty frustrating career, to be honest with you. I didn't achieve what I wanted to. I didn't unlock my full potential in it. Even though I tasted moments of it, I got to play in some awesome events on the One Asia Tour, like the Australian Open, against some great guys like Jordan Spieth and Adam Scott, and some of those greats, that we all know about. And my game was right there with them. It was just that I didn't unlock it in those key moments, and my body ended up redirecting my path a little bit then.
Understood. So one question, you mentioned having to work on your mental, right? So what helped you to overcome getting over those challenges? Did you have other coaches you worked with? What helped you to really get past those hurdles?
Totally. Yeah. Well, that's a great point, that it takes a team, right? Any individual you see competing at a high level has a team of people that are pouring into them. And so we are the best at our culmination of the support of others. For me, it was definitely other coaches helping alongside my swing coach, my fitness coach, and even my college coach still pouring in. But then it was also really a coming to terms with myself. It was understanding what was holding me back. And that's through a process of failing. So what I started doing was every practice session, every tournament round, I would journal and reflect and learn from what was going on, to where that learning started to accumulate versus just repeating the same mistakes over and over again. And that is one of the most important practices that even today I still practice and apply to my life, because without that, I end up repeating the same things over and over again. And it takes me 10 times of falling on my face to learn the lesson versus just 1 or 2. And so that was a huge part of it. And then the other thing that's really interesting, I think that it plays big time into this, is knowing that if I was going to reach a level of mastery and my best, I had to figure out what that meant for me. And that's what's interesting, is like you get in there, and I remember the first 6 months to a year, I spent so much time looking at all these other guys' games that I respected, other competitors I was playing against. Like, man, I respect that guy's game. I think he's pretty good. What is he doing? What's his blueprint for success? And how can I mirror it or copy it? And that was the wrong approach, because I don't need to know what's best for him. I need to know what's best for me.
Yes,
And
indeed.
that is a common fallacy I think we all fall into when we're newer into a new realm, and we're trying to not only learn from others, which is good, but we fail to see that we really need to learn ourselves and how to unlock our best based on what we know universally true.
Yes, indeed. And I love the fact that you started to document the process, and that basically helps you to unlock deeper potential. So you did two great things. You documented your process, and you also started to work more on yourself. You started to learn who you were as a man, as a professional athlete. And this is something we often forget to do, right? We tend to get distracted by the noise and
Yeah.
get caught up in the threads. But you did those two great things. And I could tell just from this conversation right now, man, I could tell what got you passionate, what really triggered you into becoming a coach. Because just having this conversation right now, I can tell you're an extremely passionate person.
Hmm.
So that's awesome right there. So now I want to ask you, man, what type of who do you coach, right? Because I know you worked as a golfer. I'm not sure if you also coach golfers as well, but who do you coach?
Yeah, so I coach, simply put, high performers or
High
people that
performers.
want to become high performers.
Okay.
And this entails individuals, teams, or organizations. So there's different tiers or levels to it. And really, it comes down to team communication, team performance, and looking at that from an analytical standpoint, and then attacking it strategically, holistically, and as a group. And then from an individual standpoint, it really comes down to understanding self awareness and understanding self leadership and incorporating disciplines into that so that we can strategically unlock our best. So it's a wide range. It's been people in real estate, in finance, it's been teams in real estate and finance, it's been
Hmm.
entrepreneurs, it's been freelancers, it's included artists. It's a pretty wide range. So I don't necessarily have a specific niche. But the core of it is high performers,
High performers.
and it also entails, there's some other exciting things I've been doing that combines golf with leadership development. And so
Okay.
there are some synergy. I mean, golf connects so well, and most sports do, to life, and what we can learn about the sport and ourselves in the sport really helps us learn about ourselves in life and how to better lead ourselves in life. And so there's some great offerings coming out and already going live with golf and leadership development that has been really fun.
That's awesome right there. So why did you get into coaching in the first place, man? I understand who you coach. I understand um, your trials and tribulations, like the hurdles. Why did you decide that coaching was for me?
Yeah, it's a great question. When I look back on my life and I look at my path, I realize that I am who I am because of the experiences I've been given. I didn't choose where I was born. I didn't choose the family I was born into. I didn't choose the people that really surrounded me along the way or poured into me.
Hmm.
But I'm a product largely of all that. And my own efforts are part of that. It's not the whole, it's a part, it's a piece. Um, and I'm so grateful for what all of those people have given me and all those experiences have given me. And I know that it's a privilege and it's rare. I know that there's a lot of people that haven't had that and aren't able to access some of that. And so my heart in the work is to say, look, I've been given this gift through my experiences, through the journey, through my even opportunity to compete as a professional athlete. And I
Hmm.
want to give that gift and serve others from that experience. And so, really, my heart in coaching is holding space for others to experience similar things and me being a guide in that process,
Okay.
partly by being a mirror just to reflect them well, and partly by giving them objective feedback as well as some strategic inputs from my own experience. So, that really is what fuels my heart for it, is that I've experienced the fruit of what tapping into a piece of my full potential has been, and the freedom and the joy that comes from understanding my identity and growing in self-awareness and living with discipline. And I want others to experience that fruit too, and I want to come alongside and help them. And so that was really my core driving heart and motivation for getting into the work,
Okay.
because I think that's the most joy-filled, freest, and best expression that we can give in life, because every person has a unique gift that they can bring to the world.
Yes, indeed. I agree with you 100%. So I know there are so many different types of coaching styles, right? And different types of coaches. How would you define your coaching style?
Yeah. So I would say mine is collaborative. So while it is, it depends on the tier, right? So there's individuals, teams, and organizations. On the individual level, I describe it as coaching, consulting, and creating. So it's a combination of vision and identity work up front,
Mm-hmm.
along with looking at, in the consulting phase, much more of the day-to-day life, the systems and habits and disciplines and structures we need, and refining that through experimentation. And then the third process of creating is much more the strategic game plan and understanding the stepping stones we need to take. So there's a threefold process on the individual side.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it comes to teams and organizations, the focus is really on how can we make this a little bit more objective? So how can we get data around it? And then how can we be strategic in empowering each person individually on their own leadership development journey while also growing an understanding of each other. And I have a partner, Giant Worldwide. They have a great platform and technology that brings a powerful toolkit to people and organizations and allows this work to scale throughout the organization in a really powerful way. So not just this leadership team's getting it, but other underneath them are also experiencing the investment of their own leadership development. And it really starts with us. So if we can't lead ourselves well, we're not going to be able to lead others well. And that takes a level of self-awareness and a level of discipline to do the work needed to start with us.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Self-awareness and discipline is king.
Mm.
King and queen, I would say.
I
So,
like it.
so if someone were looking for a coach, what traits would you advise for them to look for?
Yeah, I think it starts with a conversation of what do you recognize that you need? Because at the end of the day, right, there are a lot of different coaching styles or a lot of
Mm-hmm.
different types of coaches or consultants, even. And it's like therapists, right? Like you may try one and it's just a horrible fit. And so that doesn't mean the whole thing is a wash. It just means you need to find the right person. So really, I always start with a discovery call where we get to learn a little bit about each other's stories, because really part of it is shared perspectives or shared heart. Like there has to be some alignment, or
Mm-hmm.
else it won't be as productive. So we see first, is there alignment here in shared perspectives or stories? And then second, we see, okay, what are the real pains that we're experiencing right now? And what are those problems that are caused from that? What is the gap from where we are and where we want to be? And why can't you solve that on your own? And if you can't, I
Mm.
want to help if I can. And that process will help me understand if I can or if I can't. Because really, as anyone I hope that's on the show, right, our job is not to work with everyone. Our job is to work with the people that we can truly serve best.
Yes,
And
indeed.
so that's really my heart in the work.
I definitely agree with you. So, through your discovery process, has there been a time where you wanted to turn down a potential client because it wasn't a real fit, but that person continued to urge forward?
Yeah, so I've had some clients where you know, some honestly more common is like there comes a point in the coaching process where it's not being helpful or productive.
Mm-hmm.
There the client still wants to move forward, but there isn't growth happening. And so my job is always to engage in that and say, hey, look, I don't think this is worth you keeping investing in, because there's a plateau that we've reached, and until you can get past that plateau, I can't help you. And we've done as much as we can. So there's a point where I kind of have to pull the plug on that end. And then on the front end, yeah, there's been times where, for instance, this last year, a guy connected with me, and while what we weren't sure it was a great fit, he wanted to give it a try anyways. And it did turn out to be helpful. But that was one where I was on the fence, and he ended up saying, let's go for it. And so it was a good couple month season for him. And there's a lot of growth that came from it. But it's honestly a judgment call. It's an
Yeah.
intuition.
Okay.
And I think trusting your gut is
Mm.
going to be the most important thing in that, because a lot of times that is going to give us the best guidance in those moments. I'm a man of faith, so I also tap into the spirit, and that's a great guide for me as well.
That makes two of us.
I love it.
Agree. So now let's tap into storytelling time. And it's like my favorite part of the segment. So I want you to give me like a 2 to 3 minute story about a time where you helped one of your clients overcome a hurdle or obstacle, right?
Yeah.
So basically tell me a success story.
Yeah. So more recently, I've been with a guy who owns a business here locally, and working with him has been a joy, and it's a process, right? And recently, he's been expanding his team, and one of the really cool breakthroughs we had was understanding how personality affects communication styles.
Mhm.
Through Giant, we've got a personality assessment called the Five Voices, and it really makes it's based off Myers-Briggs data, and it makes that data much more actionable and personal or practical in a team setting, especially. And so, finding out that he was a connector voice, he was able to understand that his ability and his superpower of connecting with a lot of people and having these vast networks, relational networks, was a strength and not necessarily a weakness or a waste of time. So, just by understanding how he was wired, he was able to reframe his own abilities with his business and with his disposition as a positive versus a negative. So there was a lot less maybe self-guilt or shame that put on, and more acceptance and embrace. And then from that, we also started applying it to the team setting. And what was really affirming in it is that as he's been assembling this team without knowing different personalities beforehand, we realized on the back end that he's assembled a team with a wide range of voices. So he's got people that can fill in a lot of gaps from a communication standpoint and from a natural disposition standpoint that his intuition and his gut led him to, which gave him more confidence to trust that gut, that response, and saying, look, I know if I can trust my gut and not be distracted by the noise or the other opinions that may be floating, I know the people that I need in the places that I need them, but I have to have enough space and enough presence or rhythms that give him the time to process and trust that gut to really realize it. So that was a really neat breakthrough of understanding the power of his superpower of understanding people and having relational dynamics, while also utilizing tools to help reinforce that and share that information with the people on his team. And so they've been growing a lot in their ability to communicate with each other just by that mutual understanding being unlocked.
I love that, man. He was able to leverage his strength, which
Mm.
is extremely important. You know, oftentimes people sleep on his strength. They try to do so many things at once that they forget about what their true asset is, which is their strength. And
Hmm.
you're doing that exact thing right there, man. So, Thane, are you currently working on any new projects? And if you are, do you mind sharing with us?
I'd love to. Yeah. Ties into what I mentioned earlier. It's called the leadership majors. So it's this idea that, as we talked about already, golf teaches us so much about life. And the cool thing is, a lot of times when we learn similar things in parallel realms, it increases or deepens that learning to a whole nother level, and it makes it a lot stickier. It's that
Mhm.
idea of lateral thinking, right? And so by combining leadership development with golf, you can have these breakthroughs and these experiences while you're playing a game you love on the golf course that apply to your leadership within your organization or your business, that makes it that much more memorable and meaningful, because now you have this emotion filled experience to back it up. And so the Leadership Majors is a series of weekend retreats based on the major championships in golf. So there's 4 major championships in golf throughout the year. And for each one, there's going to be a leadership major, which is a weekend retreat for business leaders, executives, or any other leaders that want to be involved and enjoy the game of golf to come get leadership development, golf experience and competition, as well as game improvement. So it'll be a 3-day retreat that includes all those things, and it's launching this next year in 2022. So things are finalizing on locations and dates. So stay tuned for that. But you can go to theleadershipmajors.com and put in your info to get updated when those events go live, because there's been a lot of interest in demand. I think they will be selling out. So you may want to get on that list and make sure that you're updated.
Got it. Listen, folks, you heard it here. Get on that list ASAP. ASAP. So I'm assuming whosoever register for this tournament has to understand the game of golf, right? They have to have some type of um, understanding and
Hmm.
experience with the game of golf.
Yes, it is really an event geared towards golfers. If you're not a golfer, I'm sorry, you're probably not going to be interested, right? So these are people that enjoy the game of golf, already play golf, have a handicap, that kind of thing. Like want to have a
Mhm.
competition, but also want to invest in their leadership development, and combine those two and have that deeper learning result. Also, they're going to be at amazing destinations. Like I'm talking top 100 golf courses. So these are going to be
The
bucket
Andrews,
list places you want to go to.
got it, got it. So whenever you mention golf, I think about my trip in Scotland, and I went to some amazing places, and the green was, oh my goodness. I went to the first place at golf was discovered. I think it's St. Andrews, right? If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. And I was just in awe, man. It was such a beautiful sight. So
Yeah.
you are in a great space, man. Golf is an amazing sport, and
Mm.
and I love the fact that you are um, taking your talent and your experience and you have combined it into your coaching course, man. And
Mm.
that's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, if someone were to inquire about your services or just want to get in contact with you, man, where can they find you?
Definitely. Thanks for asking. ThaneMarcus.com is my headquarters for all that I do. So you can reach out there. There's contact, there's email, there's socials, there's the different programs available for you to look at there. The other place, if you're curious about the 5 voices, that personality assessment I mentioned, we do have it for free. And it's a great resource just to learn about yourself. Takes about 15, 20 minutes once you take it and you can look at some of the results. You can go to giant.tv/5 voices, and that's the number 5 /Thane. And that'll take you to a link where you can take a free assessment and check out all those resources that are available for you there. I definitely recommend doing that because I've learned so much about myself, and even in my marriage and my family, it's been so helpful. So I know that'll bless you as well.
Awesome. That means I need to check it out as well.
Yes.
And I shall. So, thank you for coming on and being part of this show. You have been such an amazing guest, man. I appreciate your insight, your experience, your love and passion. And I also like to thank all our viewers and listeners for lending us their ears and their eyeballs. And last but not least, how may I serve you, Thane?
Well, you've served me today by putting on this podcast in this interview. So thank you for that. I feel served, and yeah, just sharing the message about the leadership majors is a great way to serve me. So if there's people that you know that love golf and want to invest in leadership, sharing that opportunity with them would be the best way to serve me alongside this already great service of this show. So thank you, Thomas, for having me on. It's been awesome.
Awesome, awesome. And I shall. So once again, thanks for coming on. And everyone stay tuned for next week's show and be well. Take care.